Welcome to Shock and Awe Evolved, the brand new and latest and greatest generation of Shock and Awe from Goldstrike. So I'm going to show you in this video how to install them. But first, what you want to do is go and download the Shock and Awe Evolved app so you have this to work with when you're doing your installation. So let's get right to it. Hey everybody, in this video we're going to show you how to install the Shock and Awe Evolve system on your Goldwing. Now it might look like a daunting task, there's a lot here, but it's actually very simple. All you have is light pods, connectors, power, and controller. And this is just a little package of stuff to help you make it all nice and neat. So with that said, the first thing we need to do is get the seat off of there. So we're going to pull the side covers, take the seat off, and we'll get the power plugged in. This guy right here is where we're going to start. So first thing you got to do with your seat is pull your side cover off. So open your saddlebag there. Just pull on this gently. Side cover off. We'll just set that aside. Now there's a little bolt right here and one on the other side. I've already taken them out, but you just unbolt these and then make sure you unplug your heated seat, which is right here. You simply just pop the seat up and slide it forward. There we go. All right, with that seat off, we're going to go around the other side. I'll show you where we're going to plug in that power unit. So in the kit, you're going to have this pigtail here, and you're going to go the red to the positive on your battery and the black to the negative or ground. And I like to feed these just through here. And you can just leave this dangle up top, but we're going to attach this to here and that to there. You don't always have to take them all the way out, the screw all the way out. You should be able to slide this in there. There we go. That's nice and tidy, out of the way. Now this particular bike has some other accessories attached to it too. That's why you're seeing some of these other ones. If you have no attachments, you're probably just going to have this one ground and one positive wire, but you can do these like this. Works really well. So with the power hooked up to the battery, you can now plug in your Shock and Awe Evolve controller using this wire right here. This connector plugs right in like so. We're going to put that up there. Now we can start running the lights. So to do that, we're going to drop the bike down a little bit and I'll show you how to get going on that. Before we start plugging in our pods and stuff here, let me just give you a little explanation of how this works. The Shock and Awe Evolved has a chasing capability, which means that the light will chase from one end of the bike to the other. And the way we do that is we have 4 channels here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all labeled, so you'll be able to see which ones are which. And then the other thing we have here for the brake and the turn signal functions, we've got these that will plug into our distribution block or our rear end lighting, which we'll get to in a minute. But let's start out with the 4 channels. Right now we're just going to use 2 channels. We're going to use channel 1 for the right side of the bike, and we're going to use channel 2 for the left side of the bike. Now the beauty of this whole system is it's pretty much infinitely expandable, so you can add or subtract lights as you please. But just for this video, to make it simple for everybody, we're going to do channel 1 and channel 2. And like I said, channel 1 will be the right side, so the right side will chase. Channel 2 will be the left side, so the left side will be able to chase back and forth. And you can program, and we'll get into that a little bit later into the video. But that's how we're going to get started. So you just have your 4 channels, and then these are going to plug into the rear end lighting to get the signals for that. So with that, I'm going to get this mounted up, and we can start. So starting with channel 1, which is going to be the right side, this is this one right here, we're going to start with the 48-inch extension. And because we want this to chase forward and back, we're going to start at the rearmost part of the bike and work our way forward one after the other on the way up. So, the way these work is it'll start with whichever LED is plugged in closest to the controller, and it'll work out towards the one that's furthest away from the controller, and they're numbered, and you'll see that in the app, which we'll talk about later. But anyway, we're just going to start out here by unfolding this, and you want to make sure it's nice and straight, no kinks or anything in it. I'm going to plug that in here. There you go. Now we're going to run that up in this area. The controller itself is going to sit under the seat. So we don't want to get everything super tight, but we're going to run this wire kind of underneath, out of the way, across the perimeter of the back of the bike. Now this wire has to go down through here, and I found a really easy way to do that is to help yourself out, tape your wire down to a paint stick, or you can use a coat hanger. Zip ties work, if you have a long zip tie, a stick, anything that'll hold this wire. And I'll tape it on like that. Nothing. This is just painter's tape, nothing too crazy. And then what we're going to do is remove some of these other wires out of the way so we can get to it. And you want to look down, you'll be able to see the ground. And just slide that gently down there. There we go. And just let that go down. And we'll go underneath and pull it through, just like so. Untape it, and that's going to be located. We're going to run that into the saddlebag right in this area here. Okay, the first two LEDs are going to be placed under here and under here to make sure that they stick well. You want to make absolutely sure these are good and clean. I've already wiped it off once, but I'm going to do it again just to be sure. So wipe the bottom because it's going to stick right under to the bottom of this right here underneath, shining down onto the exhaust and the ground. So those nice and clean. We've taken the wire that we fed down through under the seat. It ends up right down here. There's a little slot that's perfect for that wire to pop up. What you can do is you can take two of your 3-inch pods here, connect them together first, and then plug them into the back here. There we go. And we're just going to watch it to try and get it to come up over. There's a little screw right here. You want to come up over that. And then test your fit here and there. Everything's going to work fine. This is a time that you might want to try and just turn them on for a couple of reasons. One, it helps you see. So we're going to actually turn them on. So now we just have them on so we can kind of see what we're doing here. And these are going to go underneath like that. So when you close the saddlebag lid, it'll shine down. I'm also going to attach the next length to it right now before I stick these down because it makes it a lot easier. So for right now, we're just going to plug this 30-inch extension in right here. This will eventually go up here, but we'll worry about that in a minute. Let's get these adhered. Now that's nice and dry. First one is going on. Like so. And just kind of rub on the light a little bit. Not super hard, just give it a little pressure. Make sure you're getting good adhesion to the bag. Whoops, I'll do that one there. There we go. Nice. We'll get rid of these. I'm just going to quickly just fold this up, make sure we're all out of the way. Yep, that's not going to be, that'll be okay like that. And you can see light coming out down underneath. You got them in the right spot. Next up, we're going to run this wire. We're going to feed this through underneath so it ends up here because the next LED goes on the bottom of this side handrail. So we're going to run this behind this panel through underneath, and then we're going to kind of feed it up under here to come around the backside and meet up here. We also need to add an 8-inch extension to this 30-inch, which I will do right now before we start sliding wires. Now to do this, we need to take this panel off, not completely, but just loosen it. And we've done that with these little push pins here. Just pop that in like that. And this comes out. And I'll hold that up to the camera here so you can see it. Whoop, and I'll drop it right on the floor. These little push pins, once you have them out, just push the pin back out like that. Set it aside. And there's another one down on the bottom. Just push that in. Again, same thing. Just push that back in. And those are ready to be reinstalled when we need to. But now this is loose enough to get the wire in behind it. We're going to run this wire down underneath here, like so, to get it out from underneath the bag. And then you pull this panel out and just kind of work that wire in around behind everything. It's got a lot of little ledges and things on it, so give yourself some slack. It'll come out like that. There we go. There. And then make sure you pull it back and forth to be sure you're not getting any tension in there. Yep, so we're good. Now we're going to try and feed this up and have it come up in this area here. All right, I like to go underneath of the bar around the back side, and we want to end up right about here because we have a LED right here that we're going to plug into that. Once we have our wire run, we can put our little push pins back in. Again, just make sure you're not pinching any wires back there as you're doing it. And you simply just push that in the hole. It'll slide in nice and easy. If it doesn't slide in easy, it's not lined up. Just slide in just easy like that. Then you just push the button until it snaps. And that's locked in. Same on the bottom here. Just check it. Yep. So that's back together. You don't have to worry about that anymore. So we can now move up to running the next LED in the series. All right, we're going to wipe off this area just on the inside of here. Make sure we've got that all nice and clean, ready to go. And then I like to plug the lights in. Now note, when you have it on, we had the lights, the lower ones on, and I plug this one in. Notice how it doesn't come on. If you want it to come on, you just need to turn it off and on again, just using this button right here. You can just turn it off, and you turn it on again, and then it'll find it. Because when you add another light, it needs to find it. So there's our light. We're going to put it under here. And there's no real exact spot for it, but if you slide it a little bit further forward so that the front of it curves down just slightly, it makes it easier to hide the other wire in a minute. So I'm going to stick it on just like that. And again, we're just going to rub it on there gently, firmly but gently. And this wire can hide behind there. Now, we're going to go back and tie a lot of these wires up later, but let's get them all kind of looking the way we want it to look. Now, off of this one, from here we're going to move down to the side cover. The side cover has a little vent in it. We're going to put a light in there. And to do that, we need a 22-inch, which we'll plug in here right now. And that's going to run back here. And we're going to just leave this hang here. We'll take the side cover and mount the LED strip into that and then plug it into this. So I've run my 22-inch extension here. I like to go inside the frame, and you can kind of snug it up, sneak it down inside these little corners here. This will keep this from flopping around outside of the handle. So now I'm going to plug my next LED in here to make sure we get the right path, right? You've got your side panel here. This light's going to actually sit inside here illuminating this. Now on the back side, you've got this little ledge. So what you can do is, if you're really handy, have small hands, is get in there and stick it on like that. But I want to do it right, so I'm going to take out these 3 screws, and then you see where it mounts about like there. We want this to come forward this way and follow up. So I'm going to take these out and stick it right down. It'll be easier to show you where it goes, and I think that'll be a better way to illustrate this thing. So we're just going to slowly take these out. And these are into plastic, so be careful. Don't really reef on them too hard. And again, you don't have to do this step. If you can get it stuck in there, great. But just to show you where it goes and how it works, I thought this would be a nice way to do it. So you can see that just comes off. This also gives you the opportunity here to really make sure you clean this, especially if your bike's not brand new and you've ridden it a bit. You might have some bugs and stuff in there, so let's clean that up really well. And then remember how it sits in there like that. And this is going to be coming up from the bottom. So that's the bottom. So you want to have this in there like so, which what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of cheat the wires on the one side, and we're going to stick it on just like that. So when you're done, if you have a little bit of a diagonal angle like that, that works just fine. And now all you have to do is we're just going to flip that over there. This is going to get screwed right back together, just the way it came apart. And again, you're just screwing these into plastic, so you don't have to hit it with a impact wrench or anything. Just get it snug and it'll last just fine. There you go, just like that. At this point, I'm going to take the other extension and attach it here for our next step, which is another 22-inch extension like this. We're just going to plug that in, and we can turn this light on and make sure it's doing what we want. All right, we're going to tilt that up there. Again, we'll turn this off and turn it on again. And now we'll have light in there. See how that looks? Fantastic. All right, next that we have that is to get up underneath here, and we're going to put a light under in this area. Okay, our next strip kind of goes up under here, shines down on the engine. I try to pull it towards the outside as much as I can to get as much light to shine down and as well as out. And so to do that, we're going to take this cord here that we just worked on and slide it through the hole right here. But to get to it on the other side, make your life easier, just pull these two bolts out and take that cover off quick. And that will expedite the process for you. And that little cover goes there, so we're going to just feed this in right through here. Reach up behind and grab it. You just pull it out so you can see it like that. You want to leave a little slack in there so that when you want to pull your side cover off, you still need to be able to get in to unplug it. So we're going to leave that slack like that. Leave this here. Let's plug our light in. Again, it's really dark down here, so let's turn this off and on again so we can see what we're working on. There we go. Now this one's going to go right up here, just like that. You can see how that nicely lights up all the area in the engine. Before we go any further, I'm going to plug a Y adapter on the back of this, which I have right here. So I will explain, let's get this one mounted up, and then I will explain what the Y adapter is for. And I already did clean this off, so in case you're wondering, yes, you need to clean everything. So we're going to go into here, and I'm going to make sure I get it nicely laid on there. There we go. Now, just for the moment, I'm going to leave this cover off, but you can put it back on right now. But just to make it easier to show what we're doing with the rest of these wires here, we're just going to leave that off for a minute. So as you see, we have our Y connectors. There's two coming out. With this system, if you Y it off, each one of these pods that's attached to here is going to do the exactly same thing. You're not going to be able to communicate with these guys individually. It acts as a set. And the reason why we put a Y here, the next LED pod is going to come up underneath the vent to light up that vent area in there, the radiator area. And the second one comes down. We have another option sold separately to put a light behind this engine light here that shines up on the engine, and that's what that Y is for. So what'll happen, and when you're doing the chasing, if you have the separate light down here behind the engine light, these two will light up the same. So as it's going front to back in its sweep, these two will look the same, and it gives a really great effect. So I highly recommend it. But you don't need to. But when you're ready for it, it's there for you. So for right now, we can kind of hide this. But we're going to run this one up under here. So we're going to move because we got to take apart this section here. So what I've done here is I've run the two leads that are off of the Y adapter here, and I've just run them into this area underneath here before we take off this panel so we can get inside of here. I've also removed this piece here. If you have the twin art light here, there's 3 screws, and just take this piece off. You can leave the light on. No problem at all. But if you don't have this, you can skip that step. Anyway, we've got a screw here and one up here that we need to take out. There we go. At this point, some plastic little pry bars like this are your best friend, because you kind of need to get a little violent getting this out of here. It's not super happy. Not hard to do, but what you want to do is just kind of pry out on it a little bit till you can get inside there, and then give it a yank. Get that out. There's little pins that fit in these little areas here. It's just, there you go. Once it's out, it just falls out nice and easy. Set that aside. Now you've got a pin right here. Again, one of those little push pins. You just pop that in like that. And we'll take that out and set that aside. Okay, now this whole panel here is flexing. There's one bolt in front here. We want to pull that out too. And then this whole base can come out so it'll give us access to where we're going to put the LED inside of there. Okay, that's good, that's good. Now this opens up where we can get inside. So I've plugged this LED and turned it back on so it's on, because you need the light once you're in there. There's a little ledge when I pull this back. I'll show you where it is, and that this sticks down to. But also before we do that, we're going to put this 22-inch extension on the front of it, because that's going to go up to the next one, and it's hard to get back in there once you have buttoned it all up. So with that, we're going to pull this back. And there's a ledge just in there. You want to make sure your wires are out of the way of all the push pins and stuff that hold everything together. Make sure you get it fit in there. Yep, that's going to work. We'll peel our tape off. And this is a little bit of the tricky part. Now, when you guys are doing this at home, you could also do what I'm about to do and have our photographer hold this panel right here. If you have someone with another set of hands, like that, the third hand. We're going to bring that out so we can get this attached. Excellent. Thank you. Now we've got that in there. And you close this up. Just make sure none of the wires are pinched anywhere. And you can see how it lights up that whole area back inside of there. It looks really cool. We're going to take this wire and run it up underneath here to the front. So we're going to have to slide around so we can show you that. And if you have any other wires that are kind of hidden under there, make sure before you button this all up that you tuck them back in. We're going to do that last, because I like to have everything dialed in so we can troubleshoot if we have any issues. But we're going to run this up and under and up to the front. So I've run this extension around the back side here, and I plugged a strip in mostly so I could show you what we did here. With this bolt still out here on the bottom, you pull this out a little bit and get this wire to come on the back side of it, so that that wire ends up being above the hole, kind of under that hose right there. See that? And then we're going to run this up like this, and up here there's I get the light on it here for you. Right here there's a screw boss, and we're going to go just behind that, kind of at a diagonal angle like this. So this ends up over here, because we got to plug this in afterwards and come out under the fender. So I've cleaned that all off nicely. We can add that in, and then this wire here, we've got wire keepers that'll pull up there. So we're going to do that afterwards once we get all the slack out of it. So we're going to go right up there like that. Make sure that's nice and clean, and just rub that on there. I like to spend 10 or 15 seconds just kind of rubbing on there gently. Don't push really hard, but just give it a little bit of pressure to make sure you get full contact there. All right, and then the next step that we got to do here is just add another 22-incher on the end of this. Plug that in, and this is going to go back to where the brake lines are, and that's going to follow up under the fender, and we're going to end up in this area behind the fender. So our next step is to get this line run, and then we're going to take the fender off, and I'll show you where to mount the lights on the fender. And on this one, we'll mount both sides. So we'll take the fender off and do the right and left side. So we're going to pull this fender off right here. There's just 4 bolts, 2 here on this side, 2 on the other side. So let's just knock that out quick, and then we can run the wires nice and cleanly. and I'll show you where we mount the light pods. And a tip for you guys, if that's the first time you're taking the fender off, make sure when you're taking these top ones out especially that you don't round out this thing. Really make sure you have a good fitting tool, because they do round out easy, and sometimes Honda puts them in really super tight. So just a little tip. So we're going to pull that fender off now. There we go. Just like so. And we'll need to clean everything inside of here as well, but the light strips are going to sit right in that area there. So just in front of where the brake line comes out of the caliper there on the top, you want to slide this through. You can kind of see it now poking through, a little orange fitting there, poking through. And this one also has rotor covers, so it's got that wire there, but I'm going to reach in and pull that. There we go. So that's going to pull right out here. So you want to be careful. So once we get this to this point, we're going to leave this hang loose, because you don't want to have this super tight, because you still need to be able to turn your wheel. So we're going to clamp this right to the brake line and follow the brake line around. And we'll do that with our zip ties. We'll put a couple on there, and then this will plug into the fender once we get the lights installed on the fender. We're going to do the same thing on the other side as well. So now that we have our wire popping out over on this side, that'll be the end of the right side when we install the LED pod to the fender. But as long as we have the fender off, and this is all open right here, we might as well do the left side as well, at least get this end piece on there. So we're going to take one LED pod, and on each end, of course, we're going to put our 22-inch extensions, and we're going to put this up underneath, but make sure that you have the female end of the connector facing forward and the male end facing to the back. So, of course, you have your male and female ends, female facing forward, male facing back. If you get confused with it, just always remember the male side's always going to try and point towards the controller. So we're going to go up inside of here and mount this just like we did the other one, just to get it situated. I'm going to kind of get an idea there, and we'll just leave the back wire hanging, and the front wire will run back under here just like we did on the right side. So again, male side back. Install that in there. Now, of course, I'm not going to plug this in because this is going to be on channel 2. Again, channel 1 was the right side, channel 2 is the left side, but this is just to make it easier. We start in the back and work our way forward. So we're going to take this one, like we did on the other side. We're going to follow the brake lines and get it to come through. So it'll pull through just like so. You want to have it be able to sit about there. So now we want to take zip ties and take the slack out of this wire, but attach it to the brake lines that are coming forward. So let's do that next. So you want to go along the brake line here and start with the wire coming back. And this doesn't have to be super, super tight. Just snug it down like so, so it holds it. And we're going to go around the wire just the same as we go down that brake line. And you want to kind of keep it to the brake line, because as your wheel moves up and down, that's going to give you enough slack in the wire so it won't come down. So we'll just go around all this on both sides, and then once I get that done, we're going to install the LEDs onto the fender. All right, with the fender down on the table here, we're going to actually install our LEDs right in this area right here, just along that line. And remember to have the male side pointing towards the rear of the bike. So we're going to put them on something like that. I'm going to have the tip of it just stick off the end just a hair. Makes it a little easier to get to it. So I've already washed this all off, cleaned it up. We're going to put these on. Now also, when you have the open end here, you're going to have a wide open end. There's these little deadhead plugs that are sealed on the one end and of course open on the other. You're going to plug that right into the end of it, and that'll make sure you don't have any water or anything getting into that area right there, especially right by a wheel. There's a lot of splash. And you also have your little square tabs. We'll show you that here in a second to secure this to the fender. So these are the little square adhesive pieces that I was telling you about. We're going to peel that off there. The idea is you're just going to stick that right on the back of one of your connectors here. Get that one on all crooked. A little straighter on there. There we go. And this just keeps it from flopping around. There we go. Do that on this side too, and then they're ready to put the fender back on. All right, now as you can see, the plugs are right here, so we can slide the fender onto the bike, plug these two in, and then reinstall the fender. And I got a little tip and a little trick for these holes right here to get the screws back in that I'll show you. So here's the little trick. Getting this little guy to line up with this is a little bit tricky. These little metal pieces always want to fall out on you. So I like to just take a little piece of tape, you can just piece of duct tape or whatever, just kind of tape that in there like that. It'll keep it from falling out. We'll do that on each side, just like so. And then on the back side of this, see if I can move this thing. These twist and move, and it can really make it difficult to get that fender back on. So I also just like to put a piece of tape, wipe it off clean on the back side, but just tape right across the back side of it, because you can get into so on the back side of it, right along the bottom edge, right along here, it's open. So you can kind of get this tape to stick in there and hold that. See, now it doesn't want to move so much. Just kind of keeps it in place so you can get that screw in there a little easier. And when you put the screw in, do it very gently, and I'll show you that here in a minute too. Let's get this tape on the other side. So to illustrate where the problem is that makes these difficult, I'm going to push on the other side of this little plate here where the screw backs into. So see, that turns like that. Well, obviously you're not going to get it to thread. So that's where the piece of tape just temporarily holds that back. And again, it's not a permanent fix, but it just, when you're putting your screw in now, just put it in gently. If the hole doesn't line up, don't force it, because that's what, when you try to force it, that's what pushes it back. But just that little tip right there will save you a bunch of time and frustration, to say the least. So before we put the fender on, I've slid this connector. It came out in here, remember originally? You just pull this out, and I slid this up in behind there. There's a little bit of a space, a gap right here that this is going to slide back into as well once we put the fender on and get it plugged in. So let's do that next. So now I'm going to pull this out a little bit. You might have to give yourself a little bit of slack down here and pull this out so you can plug the wire in on each side. Make sure that they make a good connection on each side. All right, now the trick is you want to push this piece here down through the hole. It helps to pull from the back side. See, as I'm pulling on that wire, it'll help guide it in there. So you do that on both sides. This can be a little putsy, but if you take your time with it, it'll make the installation go really smoothly. Pull that off. Down to there. There we go. There you go. This side's lined up. That side's lined up. Now, this is what I'm talking about with the screws. So you have a screw with a washer. Make sure that nylon washer gets back on there. That goes on the bottom. So I just get that one started loosely. Then I'm going to put this top one in. And you can look in the hole and make sure that you've got it lined up. And once it's lined up, just gently turn this to get it to start threading. And once it starts going on, you can run her home. There we go. Now before you tighten the one side, I always like to get the other side started. So just tighten up this fender, then you don't have to go back into it. All right, snug those down. And that should be good to go. So now once you've got that all squared away, the wires that we have attached to the brake line, let's just pull them and make sure you get the slack out of it, because you don't want to have any wires inside the fender that can touch the tire. So you want to pull that back just a little bit and then just double check your fastening, make sure that those aren't going to flop out anywhere. We'll do that on both sides. And of course we'll recheck that when we do the left side to make sure. So this wire here on the left side we're going to tape up to the inner wall too. So next we got to go to the back of the bike again. Okay, so our next step is, before we start the left side, let's get the turn signal unit plugged in so that you can make any of these into a turn signal. And that's done with these little adapters right here. We'll just simply plug those into our distribution block. And so for this, you're going to either need the distribution block or the rear lighting harness. I'll plug those in there. There we go. And then you're going to plug your two pieces here in, these plugs. So the one with the brown wire is right. So we'll plug that in there. And the left side, of course, would be the one with the blue and purple wire. There we go. So that's plugged in. We'll get to that later. Now we're going to start the same thing we did on the right side on the left side. And we're going to start with a 48-inch extension. And we're going to start in channel 2. So find your channel 2 right there. And we're going to plug that in. This is pretty much a mirror of the other side. So we're going to go down in. We're going to take my handy dandy paint stick and we're going to wedge it right down into here. We'll tape this to the end, shoot that through, pull it through, and do the same thing we do on the other side on this side and work our way to the front end. We also have to mount our manual controller that mounts right around the side here. And that's easy to do. As you can see, it's all working. So with that, let's just get to it. So as I mentioned before, if you have the engine light right here, you have the option of a separate lighting strip that goes actually in behind the engine light. And that's why we have this extra Y right here that comes out in the kit. So that's set to go. So if you don't have this, make sure that you put one of those plugs in the end of here in your installation, because you don't want anything getting in there. And we have those little plugs for that. But this has to come off, and then that just happens with these two screws. I'm going to pull this one off just to show you how it comes off. Then we're going to move over to the table, and we've got a chrome version that makes it a little bit easier to see. So I'll show you on the table how to install that strip. All right, we'll just move this back out of the way. Push the little spacers back in the holes. And we'll slide this over. Here's your light strip, and that's going to fit inside of this little channel right in here. So like I said, we're going to go to the table over here, and I'll give you a real detailed instruction of how to put that in there. So I'm going to show you how to put this light in here, and we're going to use a chrome one that's off the bike just to make it a little bit easier to show you how that goes in there. You don't have to take it off the bike, but just for display purposes, it'd probably be easier. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this back piece off, and there's 3 screws on the bottom here, and those are what you want to do. Take them out first with the washers. And these are into plastic, and they're self-threading, so be careful with them, especially putting them back in. You make sure you don't lose that washer, because you need the washer to hold it all together. Just pull those off. That just simply comes off like that. Set those aside. There we go. Now, the wire that controls the light, of course, is going to plug in to make your outside engine light work. You want the wires to come out at the same spot. Now for this, we're going to leave this wire loomed up, and when we go to put it on the bike, I'll explain to you why we're just going to leave this loomed up like this. But you want to start kind of down towards the front and work your way back towards the back. So what I like to do, make sure it's clean in there, is I'll just get this started right in front, just stuck down. And for that, you're going to want to make sure you have this very, very specialized tool. It is a paint stick available at most hardware stores. But that helps you a lot. So we're going to peel this off right here. And now we're going to start this just down on the end there. And you can kind of get your finger down in there just to press it for a second. The idea here is you can use your paint stick and work it back. There's these little bosses right here, right here, and right here you have to work around. So as you're going down, I kind of tilt it up to get over that. And this is where the paint stick comes in, because that'll push it off the side. And you just work your way forward. There you go. So as you see, you can come down, you just kind of give this a little bit of a twist to go around there. Take the paint stick, give it a little shove down there. You don't need to press really hard. Just get that to stick along that backing edge there. There we go. Again, have the wire come out the end. Make sure you get it stuck all the way down. And when you're done, it should look like that. And now this is ready to replace this. And we can install it on the bike, which for that, we're going to switch back to the black version that we started with. Okay, well, we have our light installed inside of here nicely. And we've got our adapter here that we have coming over, the Y adapter to plug into this. So this has a long wire because there's a few ways you can hook this up. This way, I'm going to plug this in just so you can see it, make sure we're functioning before we run the wires. Boom, there we go. So now this one, this light and this pod on this Y that we have are going to do exactly the same thing. And they're right in a row, so we kept it like that. If you want to run this on its own channels, because I said there's 4 channels on this, we're only using 2 channels. You can run this wire, this is why it's so long, all the way back to the controller and plug it into one of those, and then you have its own channel, and you can make it do whatever you want it to do outside of what the rest of the motorcycle is doing. So with that said, we're just going to fold this over, tuck it in back here, kind of hide it down in the weeds, and we'll reinstall our 2 screws. Another tip for you guys is if you have this on there, move it out a little bit, get the screws started to slide the heads of the screws just past this piece here, and then I'll just make it a lot easier to get them started. And I always say start them gently so you don't cross thread them, because you don't want to do that. There you go. There you go. I'm just going to run them home here with this, being very careful. I'm going to do the final tighten with by hand. There you go. And we'll tidy these wires up a little bit when we do the rest of it, so you'll hide them out of the way. But as you can see, that adds quite a bit of light there. It's a really excellent way to show off your engine. So you take the controller, we've stuck it down right here on the left side of the bike, just under the handrail, and you have your wire just running around underneath out of the way, and that's all set. And then once that's good, and you've checked your wiring under the seat, make sure there's nothing's going to be pinched or crushed when you put the seat on, then it's time to put the seat on and see what this whole thing looks like. So as you can see, the installation isn't that difficult. It's a bunch of steps. You want to just be careful with the wiring, make sure that you get it all placed where you need it to be and tied down. But the app itself is very simple to use, and we'll have separate videos that we'll put some links to below that teach you how to use the app. It's very simple to connect to with Bluetooth, and you'll be up and running in no time. If you're not very tech savvy, it's very simple. And so we'll be able to show you that If you are very tech savvy, this does so much. There's no way to do it all in one video. So this was just how to put it on your bike, how to put the system on your bike. And with the engine light too, that's sold separately. As with all of our stuff, you've got a limited lifetime warranty on all of the LEDs. So if there's ever a problem, we got you covered. And with that, I hope you watch the rest of the videos on this because this is an exciting product that we have. And thanks for watching. Any other questions you have, go to goldstrike3d.com or visit your local dealer and ask for Goldstrike Shock and Awe Evolved. I'm Ken with Goldstrike. Thanks for watching.